Ever feel like you got all the professional pieces,
Yeah.
the skills, the experience,
Yeah.
but somehow it's just not clicking. You're putting in the hours, but that next level, that breakthrough, it feels kind of out of reach.
Mm.
Okay, let's unpack this. In today's deep dive, it looks at the work of Brent Zeeman, an industry leader, and suggests maybe the missing piece is, well, closer to home. We're exploring how personal growth isn't just some nice-to-have extra, but actually the engine, the real driver for professional success.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about Zeman's take is this core idea. We tend to chase the external stuff, right? The promotion, the bigger deal. But he kind of flips that. He argues that working on our inner selves, that's the primary thing. So our mission here really is to uncover those links, those fundamental connections between your own personal development and what you achieve professionally. We're drawing straight from his insights to give you actionable things you can actually use. We'll hit everything from why personal growth is the foundation to how your inner state really does shape your outer world.
Exactly. And he covers a lot, like you said. Why investing in yourself is step one. How character ultimately matters more than just skills alone. The power of your mindset, your self-image, and this idea, which I find fascinating, that who you become actually attracts success, and how all this creates better professional environments, too.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's dive right in. Zeman kicks off with this really potent statement. You do not grow a business, you grow people, and people grow the business. How does that apply to us individually?
Well, think of your career, your professional life, as your own kind of enterprise. Zeman's saying the success of that enterprise, it's directly tied to your growth as a person. It's like the foundation of a house, right? If that foundation, your personal development is solid, well-maintained, the house, your career achievements, it can go higher, be stronger. His point really is that investing in yourself, learning, mindset work, strengthening character, it's not a side project. It's the core work, the essential groundwork for everything else.
Right. It almost feels backward, doesn't it? In our world that's so focused on, achievement, 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 we're told to just keep chasing those external goals. The demon's like, hang on, the real power, the real leverage comes from looking inside first. Here's where it gets really interesting. He argues pretty strongly that skills might get your foot in the door, sure, but it's your character that dictates how far you actually go, your impact. You expand on that.
Yeah, this is a key distinction. Getting started versus truly succeeding long term. Your technical skills, your know-how, they're crucial for showing value initially. Getting those first opportunities, absolutely. But Zeman argues, and I think convincingly, that for sustained success, for real impact over time, character traits are what really matter. Think about consistency, reliability, integrity, how you handle pressure, emotional intelligence. These are the things that build trust, that foster strong relationships, that let you lead effectively, navigate tricky situations. And personal growth is what sharpens these traits, like working on your empathy. That doesn't just make you a nicer colleague. It can open up leadership roles because people actually feel heard and valued around you.
That makes so much sense. You can be technically brilliant, but if you're, unreliable or just can't work well with others, you'll probably hit a ceiling. Fast. Okay, so Zeman also talks a lot about the inner game, our mindset, our self-image, and how powerful they are. He says our own beliefs can literally act as an invisible ceiling on what we can achieve. How does this internal stuff play out professionally?
Well, the insight here is that these beliefs, they often operate sort of unconsciously, right? Under the surface. But they have this huge influence on our actions and then, of course, our results. So if deep down you kind of believe you're not really cut out for, say, major success, you might subconsciously sabotage yourself, even if you have the skills. Zeman points out that just piling on more qualifications or looking for external validation, that often doesn't break through that self-doubt ceiling. And that's where self-image comes in, that story we tell ourselves constantly about who we are, what we can do. It dramatically shapes what we even attempt. He talks about moving from a survival mindset, often based on fear, like fear of failing, to an abundance mindset, where you operate from this belief in your own value, your potential. And that shift, it often needs a real change in identity, not just thinking positive thoughts.
Wow. So it's not just about adding tools to the kit. It's fundamentally changing how we see ourselves, what we think we're worthy of.
That's big, and this links right into his idea about attracting success. Not chasing it, but drawing it in by becoming the right person.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you unpack that? It's not passive, is it? Like just sitting back. It sounds more like the more we develop ourselves, the more we just naturally become the kind of person opportunities flow towards. Is that it?
That's exactly it. Think about value exchange. The professional world, whatever your field, it rewards value. So when you actively work on your personal growth, you are by definition increasing your personal value.
Yeah.
Your skills, yes, but also your character, your resilience, your mindset. As Zeman puts it, this increase in your personal worth, it just naturally leads to transformations. In your income, sure, but also your influence, your impact. It's shifting away from that constant hustle, that's striving from a place of not enough towards embodying qualities that opportunities and positive outcomes naturally gravitate to. It's less frantic doing and more intentional becoming. Okay, so less working harder and more becoming better. Got it. Now, Zeman uses this analogy. A thriving business has growing people. How do we apply that to ourselves as individuals?
Right. This really speaks to the dynamic nature of progress. Think about it. A business stalls if its people stop learning, stop adapting, right? Well, it's the same for us individually. We can get stuck, feel like we're spinning our wheels even if we're busy externally. Zeman's idea of a business being a living entity fueled by its people's growth, that's a direct mirror for our own careers. If we stop growing personally, stop learning, reflecting, tackling new challenges, we effectively cap our own professional potential. Continuous self-improvement isn't just nice, it's the actual fuel for moving forward.
Makes perfect sense. We're our own little professional living entities. Love that. He also connects this to leadership. Effective leadership, he says, is about multiplying potential in others. How does our own growth connect to our ability to lead? And I guess that applies even if we don't have a fancy title, right?
Absolutely. Zeman sees leadership less as a title and more as influence, really. So when you invest in your own mindset, building your confidence, getting better at communicating, thinking more strategically, you're not just helping yourself. You're actually boosting your capacity to inspire, to guide, to uplift the people around you. Peers, team members, anyone, your personal growth literally expands your leadership potential, letting you contribute more meaningfully.
And he really pushes this idea of embracing challenges, not avoiding them, seeing resistance as key to expanding our capacity. Can you give us a practical example? How does facing that resistance actually lead to growth professionally?
Okay, sure. Imagine you have to give a big presentation, maybe to senior people, maybe a skeptical audience. Your gut reaction might be anxiety, right? Maybe even looking for a way out, avoidance. But Zeman would say confronting that resistance, doing the hard prep, practicing, actually facing that fear and doing the presentation, that's precisely where the real growth happens. You build public speaking skills, sure, but also confidence under pressure. You expand your comfort zone. Overcoming that specific challenge makes you stronger, more capable for the next bigger thing.
Right. So those uncomfortable moments, the things we kind of want to dodge, they're actually the training ground, the crucible where capabilities get forged. That's a great reframe. Now, Zeman also has this interesting idea about opportunity being like a mirror, reflecting our internal state. What's he mean by that?
Yeah, this is a fascinating way to think about opportunities. He suggests that the opportunities we even see, let alone attract and act on, are often a direct reflection of our internal readiness. It reflects the mental and personal space we've created through discipline, through growth. So if you feel like opportunities are scarce, his perspective would be, well, maybe it's not just the external world. Maybe it's an internal signal that you need to develop further your skills, your mindset, your self-belief to become someone who is actually equipped to recognize and seize those opportunities when they appear.
Wow. Okay. That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? Puts the control back internally on our own development. And this all leaps back to the power of belief and this idea of identity transformation you mentioned earlier. Zeman really hammers home how much our self-belief dictates the limits of our potential.
Absolutely. And the crucial part here is realizing how these deep-seated self-perceptions can act like, well, invisible chains, holding us back. If you fundamentally believe, maybe unconsciously, that you're not leadership material or capable of earning X amount, that belief will shape your actions. It limits what you even try. But, and this is the empowering part, Zeman stresses, these beliefs aren't fixed. They're malleable. Through conscious effort, self-reflection, challenging those negative stories, deliberately reinforcing more positive, capable beliefs, we can actually rewrite our internal scripts. And that leads to a genuinely elevated self-image, a bigger vision for what's possible professionally.
And that conscious rewriting, that's the core of the identity transformation piece.
Right.
It's deeper than just thinking positive. It's changing who we fundamentally believe we are professionally.
Precisely. For lasting success, Zeman argues it takes more than just changing behaviors on the surface. It requires that core shift in professional identity. It means consciously aligning your thoughts, your habits, your actions with who you aspire to be professionally. It means building new, empowering habits, seeking out environments, mentors, peers who support that growth. And interestingly, he mentions integrity here too, keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do that, you solidify that new, stronger identity.
And he wraps this up by talking about authenticity, how being authentic acts like a magnet for success. How does Zeman see that connection, embracing who you really are?
Yeah, this really brings it all together, focusing on what genuine fulfillment looks like. Zeman suggests true mastery isn't about faking it till you make it or trying to fit some external mold. It's about aligning your work, your actions, with your core values, with the authentic self you're developing through all this personal growth work. He basically says the world, the marketplace, responds most powerfully to your genuine energy, your authentic presence, your grounded confidence. When you really embody who you are becoming, authentically, success isn't something you have to fight for constantly. It tends to flow more naturally from that alignment.
So pulling all these threads together from this really insightful look at Brent Zeman's ideas, it's crystal clear. Personal growth, it's not a side thing. It's the actual foundation for building real, sustainable professional mastery. We've touched on why character often trumps skills long-term, the huge impact of mindset and self-image, this cool idea of attracting success by becoming, and just the non-negotiable need for ongoing growth.
Definitely. And what's really powerful is seeing how interconnected it all is. It's not like you just work on mindset or character. They all feed into each other, creating this upward spiral towards, well, thriving professionally.
Absolutely. Which brings us nicely to our final thought for you, the listener. Just consider this. What's one specific area of your personal development that, if you really focused on it, could create the biggest positive ripple effect in your professional life? Is there maybe a limiting belief, an internal story that needs rewriting, or perhaps a challenge, some resistance you're currently avoiding that actually holds the key to your next level, something definitely worth chewing on?